In professional wrestling, the roar of the crowd is the soundtrack. It fuels every chop, every slam, every death-defying leap from the top rope. But what happens when that performance becomes too real? What happens when the cheers die, replaced by a chilling, unnatural silence? This isn't the story of something that happened. This is a blueprint for a debut so shocking, so terrifyingly real, it would leave an entire arena in a state of genuine, palpable fear. This is a look at the bone-chilling potential of a performer with a background unlike any other. This is the hypothetical story of Arissa LeBrock's first fight in a major promotion and how it could change everything. Before you can understand the silence, you have to understand the buzz. And that buzz starts with a name, Arissa LeBrock. That name carries an almost mythical weight. On one side, you have Kelly LeBrock, the supermodel and actress who was literally the fantasy woman brought to life in Weird Science, a symbol of Hollywood magic. On the other, you have her father, Steven Seagal. He wasn't just an action star, he was a legitimate 7th Dan black belt in Aikido, a man who built a brand on a foundation of authentic, bone-breaking martial arts. His on-screen persona felt terrifying because you always suspected it was real. Arissa LeBrock is the daughter of the Siren and the Warrior. She grew up on a remote ranch, shielded from the spotlight her parents knew all too well. But you can't escape your genetics. She inherited her mother's striking looks, which led to a modeling career and a stint on the reality show Growing Up Supermodel. But beneath the surface, something else was brewing. Quietly, Arissa was dedicating herself to the grueling world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The BJJ mat is a place of brutal honesty. It doesn't care about your famous parents, it only respects skill and the will to dominate. There, Arissa wasn't a celebrity's daughter. She was a competitor earning medals and forging her own identity. It was the Seagal side of her legacy, emerging not on a film set, but in real combat. This unique blend, the marketability of a model and the credibility of a legit BJJ practitioner, made her a prospect unlike any other in wrestling. But her first attempt to enter that world would be a journey defined by a setback that nearly ended her dream before it began. Her first stop wasn't TNA, it was the global titan, WWE. In December of 2019, news broke that Arissa LeBrock was at a notoriously difficult tryout at the WWE Performance Center. This is the meat grinder, a place designed to push athletes to their absolute limits. With her name and legit combat sports background, the hype was immediate. And then, disaster struck. Shortly after the tryout, a severe injury brought her ambitions to a screeching halt. The specifics were kept private, but the outcome was clear. The opportunity was gone. For an athlete on the verge of a breakthrough, it's a devastating blow. Arissa later described this period with startling honesty, admitting, "I realized that I had become comfortable in the darkest, worst place in my life." For years, the story of Arissa LeBrock, the wrestler, was over. But a dream deferred can either break you or forge you into something stronger. While Arissa was in that dark place, her phone rang. It was Dustin Rhodes, son of the legendary American Dream Dusty Rhodes. Dustin knows the weight of a famous last name and the fight to prove you belong. He didn't see a failure, he saw untapped potential. He offered her a second chance, an invitation to train at his school, the Rhodes Wrestling Academy. That call was the jolt she needed. Arissa moved to Texas and dedicated herself completely to the craft. The Rhodes Wrestling Academy is an old-school dojo built on fundamentals and respect. Under Dustin's eye, she was broken down and rebuilt. She worked with trainers, methodically strengthening her body to ensure the injury that derailed her first chance wouldn't define her second. Dustin taught her how to blend her dangerous BJJ skills with the art of storytelling. Dustin was blown away. "She's doing a great job, but this is only the beginning for her," he said in an interview, the pride evident in his voice. In March 2023, Arissa LeBrock had her official in-ring debut at the Rhodes Wrestling Academy Student Showcase. It was an intimate setting, but reports described a performance that was powerful and brutally efficient. She showcased a fusion of martial arts and wrestling that was shockingly credible. It was this display of raw potential that put the entire wrestling world on notice and set the stage for an arrival that, if booked correctly, nobody could possibly be prepared for. So, picture this: a TNA pay-per-view. The Impact Zone is buzzing. For weeks, cryptic vignettes have promised the arrival of a paradigm shift. A final video package plays, recapping her incredible story. The Hollywood lineage, the modeling, the devastating injury, and her rebirth under Dustin Rhodes. It's a story of resilience, designed to get the fans on her side. The crowd is ready to welcome a hero. Then the arena is plunged into darkness. A single, low bass note hums through the speakers. A cold blue spotlight cuts through the blackness, and there she stands. This isn't the smiling hero from the video. Her face is a mask of cold indifference. She wears simple black gear. Her eyes scan the arena not with excitement, but with the detached focus of a predator. She walks down the ramp with a slow, deliberate pace, ignoring the fans. She doesn't play to the crowd. She looks right through them. The commentary team would be buzzing with excitement, but you'd hear a shift in their tone to uncertainty. You can almost hear Matthew Rehwoldt saying, "Tom, look at her demeanor. There's no emotion there. This is not the debut I think anyone was expecting. This is ice cold." The crowd's reaction would start to shift. Cheers would falter, replaced by a confused murmur. This wouldn't feel like a typical debut. This would feel unsettling. As she slides into the ring, she stands perfectly still, waiting. The excitement in the building has evaporated, replaced by a thick blanket of tension. To make this debut work, her opponent would have to be a beloved veteran, someone the fans trust, a cornerstone like Taylor Wilde. Wilde would circle her, playing to the crowd, trying to bring the energy back. The bell rings, they lock up, and you'd see a visible jolt go through Wilde's body. Her confident expression would vanish, replaced by shock. Arissa wouldn't just match her strength, she would overwhelm it, driving the veteran back into the corner. The crowd would let out a collective "ooh," a sound of surprise, not excitement. Wilde, trying to regain control, would go for a waistlock. In a blur, Arissa would execute a flawless uchimata, a judo throw, sending Wilde flying across the ring. Wilde would land hard, her face a mask of disbelief and pain. This isn't wrestling. This is a fight. The crowd would fall quieter. Arissa would advance, and Wilde would throw a series of forearm strikes. Arissa wouldn't block them. She'd just walk through them. She would grab Wilde by the throat and plant her with a devastating, flourish-free choke slam. It wouldn't be theatrical. It would be brutally efficient. The commentary would be filled with alarm. You could imagine Tom Hannafin screaming, "My God, the raw power of Arissa LeBrock. She is dismantling one of the toughest competitors in this division." The moment the atmosphere would shift from unease to genuine fear would be when Arissa rolls Wilde into the ring and mounts her, raining down stiff MMA-style hammer fists. The referee would try to pull her off, and Arissa would just glare at him, a look so menacing the official would physically recoil. In that moment, the crowd would completely shut down. The realization would dawn: this isn't part of the show. Or if it is, it's unlike anything they've ever seen. This feels too real. The end would have to be sudden and violent. As a dazed Taylor Wilde gets to her feet, Arissa would shoot in for a legitimate double-leg takedown, dragging her to the mat. Before Wilde could even process it, Arissa would transition into a full mount. Wilde would try to buck and roll, but it would be useless. Then, instead of more strikes, Arissa would slide her leg up high, hook the other over Wilde's head, and lock in a mounted triangle choke. It's a high-level BJJ submission, applied with vicious precision. Wilde's face would immediately begin to turn purple. She would claw at Arissa's leg, her eyes wide with panic. There would be no dramatic tap-out. Her hands would simply go limp and fall to the canvas. She'd be out. unconscious. The referee would see it instantly and frantically wave for the bell. But Arissa wouldn't release the hold right away. She'd hold it for an extra beat, squeezing the last bit of consciousness from her opponent before contemptuously shoving her limp body aside. The victory music would never play. There would be only silence. A heavy, stunned, suffocating silence. The fans would be frozen, having just witnessed a match end like a street fight, with a respected veteran being choked completely unconscious. If you were watching this unfold, what would be going through your mind? Would a debut this real be the most dominant and terrifying in history? Let me know your honest reaction in the comments, because the potential aftermath is what would solidify this as an unforgettable night. For what would feel like an eternity, the scene would be frozen, wild, motionless. The referee, frantic. Arissa LeBrock would slowly rise, her face still an emotionless slate, looking down at her handiwork with cold, analytical detachment. Then, officials and a medic would rush the ring to attend to Wild. The sight of real medical personnel treating a legitimately unconscious-looking wrestler would shatter the last bit of performance. This would no longer feel like a show, it would feel like a crisis. And through it all, Arissa would just stand there. She wouldn't celebrate. She would simply turn, slide out of the ring, and walk up the ramp with the same deliberate pace she entered with, disappearing without a single look back. A debut like this would be a true paradigm shift. Wrestling has seen monsters before, but their dominance is usually wrapped in theatricality. This would be different. Arissa LeBrock's dominance would feel devoid of character. It would feel like pure, unadulterated reality. Her power wouldn't be in pyrotechnics, but in the terrifying efficiency of her movements and the genuine fear she instilled in her opponent and the audience. The silence of the crowd would be the ultimate testament to her impact, a silence born of fear mixed with a strange, unwilling respect. The hypothetical debut of Arissa LeBrock would be remembered not for cheers, but for the chilling silence that followed. She wouldn't just win a match. She would fundamentally alter the atmosphere of an entire promotion by proving that the most terrifying force in wrestling isn't a character, but a competitor with legitimate, dangerous skills and the willingness to use them without restraint. The fear wouldn't be kayfabe. It would be a real reaction to witnessing something that felt too brutal for professional wrestling. It would leave everyone with two chilling questions. What is next for this unstoppable force? And who in the world will be brave enough or foolish enough to stand in her way?